The story of Eklavya. Once upon a time there was a young man called Drona. He was very brave. He was the son of Bhardwaj, and he was a great friend of Draupad, who was the prince of Panchals. When Drona was young, he spent a lot of time in the company of Draupad. "You will always be my friend," Draupad used to tell him. "When I become king of the Panchals, I shall call you to my court, and you can help me to rule the country." Drona grew up and married a girl Kripi. They had one son called Avasthama. They lived far away from the town, and they were poor. One day Drona said to his wife, "I shall go and see my old friend Draupad. Now he is king of the Panchals. He will surely remember of our old friendship and help us." So he set off to meet Draupad. But when he got to the palace, he had an unpleasant surprise. King Draupad was not at all pleased to see him. "When we were young, we were friends," he said. "But now I am a king, with all the riches of this great kingdom, and you are a poor man. How can two such people be friends? Only equals can be friends. What do you know and what can you do?" Drona was very sad and very surprised. "Since I last met you, I have learned the science of archery," he told the king. "I care nothing for your archery," laughed Draupad. "We have plenty of fine archers in the kingdom of Panchal. We do not need you." Drona was very sad, but he was also very angry. He left the palace. When he was traveling on the road to Hastinapur, he met the Kuru princes. Their ball had fallen into an old well, and however much they tried, they could not get it out. "Can you help us?" they asked Drona. "Can you shoot?" asked Drona. "We have learnt archer," replied the young princes, "but we don't know how to get the ball out of the well." "I'll show you," said Drona. He picked some blades of grass from beside the well. Then he held up a blade of grass and said, "See, I throw this grass." Straight as an arrow, the blade of grass flew down the well and struck into the ball. Then Drona sent a stream of grass down the well, and each blade of grass stuck into the one below it, making a chain. Drona took hold of grass chain, pulled up the ball and gave it to the princes. The Kuru princes were amazed and delighted. They asked Drona to stay with him as their teacher. All the young princes became expert in the use of bow and arrow, and other weapons too. But of all the young prince, Arjun was Drona's favorite. Arjun worked the hardest and carried out every command of his guru. "I shall make you the greatest teacher in the world," promised Drona. Now one day a young man came out of the forest. His name was Eklavya, and he had lived in the forest all his life. He wanted to become Drona's pupil and learn the art of archery. He came one morning to Drona's house and threw himself at the teacher's feet. "Oh great teacher, I have come to serve you and to learn archery from you. I beg you to take me as your pupil." Drona was very pleased with the boy's word and with his behavior, but he could not take him as his pupil. "I like your manners, and I like the way you speak, but I cannot teach you. Go back to the forest." Eklavya was very disappointed, but as he thought of Drona as his teacher, he obeyed him and returned to the forest. There he made a clay image of Drona and prayed to it every day. He practiced day and night. He became so skillful in the art of the bow and arrow that he could shoot in the dark, or without seeing the objects he was aiming at, or he could shoot things just by hearing the sound of them. One day all the Kuru princes were out hunting in the forest. One of their huge dogs ran ahead of them and suddenly came out into a clearing in the trees. In the middle of the clearing was the image of Drona, and the dog started to bark at it. Now at that time Eklavya was about a quarter of a mile away, deep in the forest. He heard the sound of the dog barking, and pulling 7 arrows from his quiver, he let fly one after the other, straight at the dog. Each arrow pierced the dog's mouth without killing it, and made a pattern of arrows which stopped the dog at barking. Just then the princes came into the clearing in the forest and saw the dog. They were all amazed. Arjun, they cried, here is an archer more skillful than you. Look, without seeing the dog, he has shot 7 arrows into its mouth, each the same distance from the next. Arjun was quite angry, because he wanted to be the greatest archer in the world. Just then they saw Eklavya come striding out of the forest. They spoke to him and asked him who he was, and at last I took him to their teacher Drona. When Eklavya saw Drona, he immediately threw himself at the master's feet and joined his hands in greeting. Who are you? Asked Drona. I'm your humble pupil, replied Eklavya. My pupil? Cried Drona in amazement. How can that be? What do you know of archery? Then the princess told Drona about the Eklavya told him how he made a clay image and learnt from that. Drona was overjoyed to learn about such skillful and devoted pupil. He began to praise the young man, but one glance at Arjun's jealous and angry face reminded him of his early promise. He was sad, but he hardened his heart and said to Eklavya, if you are my pupil, where is the present for your teacher? Everything I have is yours, master, replied Eklavya with a smile. Then give me your right thumb, asked Drona. Eklavya drew a sharp-edged arrow from his quiver and smiled at his teacher, sliced the thumb cleanly off his right hand, and laid it at Drona's